All right, folks, so what we're going to do right now is put some of these stone tools to use. I'll first work with a small molcajete and a small metate and mano. And we're going to grind down some acorn flour. So this acorn is split, but the acorn that I'm looking for is nice and yellow. We don't have any signs of molding or damage. And we'll crack that open. I'll show you what it looks like. So this is what our acorn should look like. Nice and bright. Just this beautiful yellow color. We'll throw that into the molcajete. So we'll crack this guy open. See what's going on inside. That one looks good. So we can throw that one in. Now some folks will remove the husk underneath the shell. It doesn't matter. I've processed acorn with it in and without the husk. Now this acorn here, you can see definitely some bug damage. You can see they got inside and it's probably crumbly. So yeah, you can see that. So this one's no good. You can see how that just kind of falls apart. We just discard that. Now one thing with the metate and mano, when you impregnate the surface with a vegetable material, it helps prevent a lot of the grit getting inside of your food. So that's one thing that I've learned that's quite important when making these tools. Nice little acorn here. We'll see what's inside. So we just crack that, and that looks good. This one's still decent. We'll check the acorn itself out, and that's not bad. We can still use it. You can see it doesn't have that bright yellow color, but no signs of bug damage, any mold inside. So that is still very much so good. It's starting to go though, so we'd want to make a cake out of it as soon as possible. Yeah, that one has a lot of turning, so that's no good. Same thing with that. Beautiful color. So all I'm doing right now is just grinding down the acorn nut into a coarse meal. Technically, with the mortar and pestle, you can grind this down into a fine meal. I've done that before, but I like to take it over to a metate and mano, and that can really break this meal down nice and fine. A lot of the times what the California natives would do, especially in Southern California, is they would take a basket with the bottom worn out and they would glue that with a pine resin or a mesquite resin onto their mortar. And what that would do is it would help prevent their meal jumping out of the mortar. So it would just provide more in the long run. So that's something to consider as well when using stone tools like these. And that's our coarse meal, as you can see. We'll grind down some more, and then we'll take it over to our metate. So I'll be right back with you. No good. So we have a pretty good amount here, and this process is just very repetitive. So what we'll do is we'll grind down just a small bit here. We'll kick that onto our metate, grind that down, kick it onto the rag, and then process more until we have a good amount, or the amount that's needed to stay fed. So we'll just kind of dump that onto our metate, and we'll start grinding that down even finer. Again, into just a nice fine meal. It really doesn't take much. So as you can see, we have our acorn flour processed into a nice fine meal, and this is exactly the consistency that I want. So as this sits right now, it's ready to go. I can just keep it in this cloth and I can start straining the tannic acid out of the flour. Therefore, it becomes edible and I can start cooking with it. But again, when it comes to stone tools like these, they're so important, and they make wild food processing much more efficient, and you become much more productive at it. So with the mortar and pestle, of course, we get a nice coarse meal. We transfer that over to the metate and mano, and we essentially get a nice fine meal. Just because we're increasing the surface area, we have a nice flat surface to grind on, and we can start putting a lot of pressure on that grain. And again, the result, we just get a beautiful meal here. So stone tools like this also bring you closer to the environment and closer to the land you're walking upon. That's another reason why these are very important for me. So I want to switch gears here, and we'll move over to our larger mortar and pestle, and we'll start breaking down more wild foods.